Hey guys! Tonight we dive into something you've probably dreamed of, but maybe also secretly feared: speaking English confidently and fluently. Imagine you're at a cozy cafe, the kind with soft jazz playing in the background, and someone just asked you for directions in perfect English. Your heart races. You probably won't survive this without some nerves, right? But what if I told you the key to unlocking that confidence lies less in fancy vocabulary and more in what's happening inside your head? So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Oh, and don't forget to drop your location and local time in the comments. It's fun to see where we're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You start with your mindset, which is like the soil in which your English skills will grow. If your brain is crowded with doubts and worries about messing up, that soil gets rocky and unwelcoming. Psychologists call this a fixed mindset, where you believe your abilities are set in stone. But adopting a growth mindset, a term popularized by Carol Dweck in the 2000s, means you see your skills as flexible, improvable with effort. Imagine Thomas Edison tinkering with his light bulb over and over. He famously said he found thousands of ways that didn't work before the one that did. So, when you stumble over English words, you're just Edison testing bulbs. Here's a quirky tidbit. In ancient Rome, orators practiced speeches while walking barefoot on rough stones to toughen their tongues and voices. Sounds extreme, but it shows the mindset of embracing discomfort to grow. Historians still argue whether this physical toughening really made a difference or was just a dramatic ritual. But the message stands. Practice involves pushing boundaries. You probably already notice how your inner voice narrates your attempts at speaking. That voice can either be your worst critic or your best cheerleader. Switching it to cheerleader mode is the first step to speaking English easily. Start by reminding yourself, mistakes aren't failures, they're experiments. If you fail, you learn, and if you learn, you get better. That's growth. So tonight, as we go deeper, keep that mindset in the front of your mind, because no amount of grammar drills or vocabulary flashcards will help if your confidence is stuck at zero. You wake up, reach for your phone, and scroll through a sea of notifications. Somewhere between memes and news, English quietly floats into your day. Whether it's a headline, a song, or a quick video, immersing yourself in English daily doesn't mean flipping your life upside down or booking a flight to London. It's about weaving English into the fabric of your everyday moments so seamlessly that it feels less like study and more like living. The ancient Greeks were masters of immersion in a way. They made theater and storytelling part of daily life, which helped spread their language and culture far and wide. Interestingly, historians still argue whether their theatrical traditions were purely entertainment or subtle tools for education and social cohesion. Either way, the lesson here is clear. Learning happens best when language is part of your routine, not just a subject in a textbook. Start small. Change your phone language to English. Watch your favorite TV shows or YouTube channels with English subtitles. Listen to English music or podcasts while commuting or cooking. These tiny choices create an environment that trains your brain to think in English. Think of it like tuning a radio. You're adjusting the dial slowly until the signal is clear and constant. Here's a quirky trick. One learner reported talking to their plants in English every morning. The plants didn't reply yet, but this ritual built speaking confidence and vocabulary. It's a low-pressure way to practice speaking out loud and hear your own voice. If the Romans had their barefoot orators, you can have your plant audience. Remember, immersion isn't about perfection. It's about exposure. Your brain needs to hear and interact with English often to build natural fluency. So don't stress about understanding every word. Instead, enjoy the rhythm, sounds, and patterns. This daily dance with English builds a subconscious foundation that grammar rules alone can't provide. Before you know it, you'll catch yourself thinking in English during simple tasks, like deciding what to eat or planning your day. That's your immersion working its magic, quietly but powerfully. You might think you need to conquer a mountain of vocabulary before you can even say hello confidently. But what if I told you that focusing on a handful of essential phrases can skyrocket your speaking confidence faster than cramming thousands of words? Think of it like cooking. Mastering a few staple dishes well beats having a pantry full of. Take the phrase, "How are you?" Simple, right? Yet, it's a conversation starter and social glue across English-speaking cultures. Back in the 1700s, coffee houses in London were the hubs where this phrase bubbled up as a daily greeting among all classes. Historians still argue whether coffee houses were purely social or early centers of political discourse, but one thing's for sure, knowing basic phrases got people talking. Start by learning phrases that fit your daily life. Greetings, asking for help, ordering food, expressing feelings. These are your keys to unlocking real conversations. Once you're comfortable, start mixing and matching. For example, "Could you please help me?" can evolve into, "Could you please help me find the nearest pharmacy?" without the overwhelm. A quirky tip: some language learners keep a phrase notebook where they jot down new sentences they hear in movies or conversations. Then, they practice saying these aloud in front of a mirror or recording themselves. You don't need perfect grammar here, just the habit of speaking. By focusing on essential phrases, you build a reliable toolkit that makes speaking less scary and more practical. The beauty is, this approach mimics how children learn language through repeated exposure and usage of common phrases rather than memorizing grammar rules first. So don't get stuck in the vocabulary trap. Instead, pick phrases that matter, practice them often, and watch your confidence bloom naturally. Remember that awkward silence at parties? With a few go-to phrases, you'll glide through those moments like a pro. You probably already have a digital buddy by your side, your phone. What if I told you it could be your personal English-speaking partner, available 24/7 without judgment or coffee breaks? Technology offers more than memes and endless scrolling. It's a powerful tool to practice speaking English anytime, anywhere. Back in the 1960s, when computers were the size of rooms, scientists dreamed of machines that could understand human language. Historians still argue whether early AI was hype or genuine groundwork, but today, voice assistants like Siri and Alexa are mini miracles you carry in your pocket. They respond to your voice, help you practice pronunciation, and even simulate conversations. Language learning apps, such as Duolingo or HelloTalk, let you chat with native speakers or AI tutors, making practice accessible and fun. You can record yourself, get instant feedback, and even compete with friends for motivation. The beauty here? No pressure. You can stumble, repeat, and try again as much as you want. A quirky fact: some learners swear by talking to their voice assistants like they're old friends. "Hey Siri, how do I say 'I'm hungry' in English?" is their go-to practice line. And if your assistant gets confused, well, you're not alone in the learning curve. Using tech this way turns your smartphone into a portable classroom and conversation partner, cutting down the isolation many learners feel. It also exposes you to natural speech patterns and accents you might not find in traditional classes. So next time you reach for your phone, don't just scroll mindlessly. Use it to speak aloud, ask questions, or even tell a joke. Your digital buddy is waiting, and trust me, it's way more patient than that chatty neighbor. You're about to speak English, but then, bam, fear strikes. That nagging voice whispers, "What if you mess up? What if they laugh?" Here's the thing: fear of making mistakes is universal. Even Shakespeare probably tripped over words before nailing those sonnets. Historians still argue whether Shakespeare was a flawless genius or just a guy who loved messing with language. But one fact remains: mistakes are part of the process. Think of mistakes like the mosquito bites of learning, annoying but unavoidable, and frankly, necessary. Embracing errors rather than fearing them rewires your brain to take risks, which is exactly how fluency grows. Imagine if the Wright brothers had let the fear of crashing keep them from trying. The airplane would still be a dream, and you'd be stuck dreaming of speaking English too. Here's a quirky tip: treat your mistakes like a stand-up comedy act. When you slip up, laugh it off, and maybe even share the moment with friends. Humor eases anxiety and makes the whole experience more memorable. Plus, people appreciate your effort, and that's half the battle won. Remember the story of how Thomas Edison found thousands of wrong ways to make a light bulb? Mistakes were just clues pointing him toward success. Your mispronounced words and awkward pauses are your clues. Don't silence them. Listen carefully and learn. So, the next time you hesitate, remind yourself that mistakes are your allies, not enemies. They're the quirky friends who nudge you forward. Embrace them with a smile, and you'll find speaking English becomes less scary and a lot more fun. You're no stranger to routines. They shape your days, your habits, and yes, even your learning. But building a speaking routine you love, that's the secret sauce to turning English practice from a chore into a joy. After all, no one sticks to a routine they dread, right? In ancient Japan, samurai trained daily, not just in sword play, but in poetry and calligraphy, an unexpected combo that sharpened both mind and spirit. Historians still argue whether this blend of art and combat was practical or ceremonial, but it shows how routine shaped mastery. Start by carving out small, consistent pockets of time. Even 5 minutes a day counts. Maybe it's narrating your morning routine aloud or texting a friend in English during your coffee break. The key is loving what you do. If you hate repeating tongue twisters, try telling a joke instead. If memorizing dialogues feels dry, sing a favorite song in English. A quirky but effective trick is the 2-minute rule. Commit to speaking for just 2 minutes daily. If you want to stop after 2 minutes, fine. But more often than not, you'll keep going because it feels easy and manageable. Remember, it's better to speak imperfectly every day than to wait for perfect moments that never come. Consistency beats intensity. Your daily speaking habit is like watering a plant. Small amounts regularly make it flourish. So design a routine that fits your personality and schedule, It doesn't have to be long or complicated, just yours. When you love the process, fluency sneaks in without the stress. You've probably noticed how, when you listen to native speakers, something just clicks. The rhythm, the stress, the flow of their speech. It's almost musical, isn't it? Training your ear to catch these subtle clues can transform your speaking, making it smoother and more natural. After all, language isn't just words, it's sound and feeling. Back in the 1920s, the jazz age wasn't just about music. It influenced how people spoke, with rhythm and slang flowing freely across cities. Historians still argue whether jazz changed English pronunciation or simply mirrored cultural shifts, but the connection between music and language is undeniable. Active listening means more than hearing words. You focus on how they're said. Watch mouth movements, intonation patterns, and pauses. Try to notice when a speaker raises their voice or drops it softly, because these changes carry meaning beyond the dictionary. A quirky exercise is to listen to short clips, then try to imitate the speaker's tone and rhythm without worrying about the words. Think of it like learning dance steps before the choreography. This trains your brain and mouth to sync naturally. Another fun fact: infants worldwide develop their language ears by listening to the sounds around them, even before understanding meaning. This early exposure shapes their ability to mimic and speak fluently later. So, the next time you binge watch a show or listen to a podcast, turn on your language detective mode. Pick up on pronunciation patterns, stress, and melody. This auditory training is a powerful shortcut to sounding more fluent and confident when you speak. You've probably tried repeating words or sentences before, but have you ever shadowed a speaker, mimicking their voice almost like a parrot? Shadowing and mimicry are fun, surprisingly effective ways to improve your fluency without the headache of grammar drills. It's like karaoke, but for learning English. In the 1960s, linguists first popularized shadowing as a method for rapid language acquisition. Historians still argue whether it's more effective than traditional classroom methods, but millions swear by it for sounding more natural and confident. Here's how it works. You listen to a native speaker and speak along almost simultaneously, copying their rhythm, intonation, and pronunciation. It's not about memorizing word for word, but capturing the flow and feel of real conversation. This trains your mouth muscles and brain to work together smoothly. A quirky tip: try shadowing with fun content like movie trailers or energetic speeches. The excitement in the audio makes it easier to stay engaged and practice naturally. You can even exaggerate facial expressions to help match the emotions and sounds. This technique is a gentle rebellion against the grammar first rule. You're letting your brain soak up language patterns organically, like a baby learning to speak by listening and imitating adults around them. Keep in mind, shadowing takes practice. Don't worry if you stumble or can't keep up at first. Like dancing, you improve by moving more and more with the beat until it feels effortless. So grab your favorite English audio, press play, and start shadowing your way to smoother, more confident speaking. It's a playful shortcut to sounding like a native without stressing over rules. You know that feeling when you're about to speak English in front of others and your palms get sweaty, your heart races, and your mind goes blank. Fear of judgment is a huge barrier, but engaging in low-pressure speaking environments can gently pull you out of that freeze. Think of it as dipping your toes in the water before diving into the deep end. Back in medieval Europe, Guild apprentices practiced their crafts in workshops where mistakes were not just expected, but welcomed as part of learning. Historians still argue whether guilds were primarily social clubs or early professional training centers, but the concept of safe learning spaces has been around for centuries. Find or create spaces where the stakes feel low. Language exchange meetups, online forums, or even informal chats with friends who don't mind your quirks. Platforms like Tandem or Conversation Exchange let you pair up with other learners or patient native speakers eager to help. Here's a quirky idea. Some learners host English-only game nights with friends, where everyone commits to speaking English in a relaxed, playful setting. Laughter and shared mistakes make the experience memorable and stress-free. The magic here is practice without pressure. When you remove the fear of judgment, you unlock the freedom to experiment, make mistakes, and improve. This is how fluency grows naturally. So next time nerves strike, remind yourself that perfection is the enemy of progress. Seek out or create your low-pressure zones. They're the playgrounds where your English skills can flourish without fear. You might not realize it, but storytelling is one of the oldest, most natural ways humans learn language and connect with each other. When you start sharing simple stories, even if they're just about your day, you're not only practicing English, but also weaving your words into a meaningful flow that listeners can follow. This flow is the secret sauce of fluency. Thousands of years ago, before writing was common, oral storytelling was how cultures passed down knowledge and history. Ancient Egyptians carved stories into temples, but many tales survived only because storytellers memorized and repeated them aloud. Historians still argue how much those stories changed over time, but one thing's clear: storytelling shaped language itself. Try this quirky exercise. Pick a simple topic, like what you had for breakfast or a funny moment, and tell it out loud to yourself or a friend. Don't worry about perfect grammar or vocabulary. Focus on getting the story across. As you practice, you'll notice your sentences flow more naturally and your vocabulary grows. Storytelling also helps you connect English to emotions and experiences, which makes words stick better. When you say, "I was so surprised when," you're not just reciting words, you're sharing feelings, and that's powerful. Plus, stories have a rhythm, a beginning, middle, and end, which guides your speaking pace and intonation. This helps listeners understand you better and makes your speech sound more engaging. So, make storytelling your secret weapon. It turns speaking practice into something creative, personal, and fun, much better than drilling dry sentences. Your stories don't have to be epic. Even small everyday tales count. You've got hobbies, passions, and interests that light up your day, right? Well, guess what? Tying your English practice to these passions is like adding rocket fuel to your speaking journey. When you talk about what you love, words flow easier, and your enthusiasm makes conversations lively and memorable. Back in the Renaissance, artists and scientists alike connected their passions to their learning, fueling incredible breakthroughs. Historians still argue how much passion versus formal training drove their success, but there's no denying that love for a subject pushes us to master the language around it. Start by learning vocabulary and phrases related to your hobbies, whether it's cooking, gaming, sports, or gardening. Watch YouTube videos, read blogs, or join forums in English about your favorite topics. This targeted practice makes speaking feel less like homework and more like chatting with friends who share your interests. A quirky example: one language learner combined their love of cooking and English by narrating their recipe attempts out loud in English, turning kitchen time into speaking practice. Your kitchen might just be your new classroom. Connecting language to passions also boosts motivation. When you're excited about a topic, you're more likely to remember words and speak confidently about them. Plus, you'll naturally pick up the casual expressions and slang that come with everyday conversations. So don't just study English in isolation. Bring your hobbies into the mix and watch how your speaking skills blossom with genuine interest and fun. Tracking your progress in English can feel like trying to catch a cloud. Sometimes it's obvious, other times elusive, but learning how to subtly measure your improvement without adding pressure is key to staying motivated and enjoying the journey. After all, silly,